Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Arborlands devlog. I have one feature to show, and then I'm just kind of gonna ramble, I think. So here's the new feature. It's the new addition of nodes on the lines. So you can see that now when I hover over the lines, then I have this highlight, and if I click down on it, it creates a new node. So now you don't have to always add a node at the end, because this is what you had to do before. You had to basically click and it would always be, for example, this is the oldest node. It would always add it after that node. So now you don't have to do that anymore. All you have to do is select which leg you want to add the route node to, and you just drag or move it wherever you like. And of course, you can still delete them. I was having a lot of trouble with this X button. It was too small, and I was constantly clicking off, and that was very annoying. So I don't want players to have to go through that. So I have a bigger X button. I know it's a little bit glaring, but in the end, it's all about being functional. This also works for the one-way routes as well. So you can add things. Right now, I have the same color node, as you can see, and that's kind of doesn't look quite right. And also I have some glitches that I need to work through. For example, if you hover or if you click on some of these, you can still get kind of these artifacts. So like there, you see it right there? I need to find a way to fix that up. But in general, looking pretty good. Now, the other thing I did this week was create unit tests. And unit tests are little tests that you add to your subroutines. In C Sharp, they're called methods. And when you add them, they are supposed to test everything that the method does. And unit tests are something that you're supposed to do. It's a kind of an industry standard. It's best practice. And the actual idea is to write the test before you write it. So before you write the actual code. And so that's something that I've been putting off for a really long time. And after last week, I had so much coding done, refactoring things that I did wrong in the first place. And I decided, you know what? I'm done with this. The project is big enough. I know that it's working. Some there's a lot of prototype behavior already down. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add the unit tests. And it wasn't as difficult as I thought, but there was quite a bit of difficulty getting things set up, and I'll explain that. In Unity, all these objects that you see in front of you, all the graphical objects work on a base type called a mono behavior. And for some reason, the way it's written in Unity, you can't just instantiate them the way you do other classes, but they're still instantiable. You can still create them. And I wasn't finding a way to do that until later on in the week. And it turns out all you have to do is you have to point to where your asset is in your folder system, and then you can instantiate it. And there were a whole bunch of people online saying this can't be done. And I was struggling with that because people were saying, well, actually it's best practice not to have your logic inside the object, but you just run into it so often. You're updating what the object is doing, you're updating lists of where the objects are, and it just didn't seem right to me. And I double checked it, and yeah, it turns out those people were just either they were talking about an older version of Unity or they hadn't figured it out for themselves. But these were people who were pretty high in search rankings, so I was kind of surprised. And I had the same situation when I was trying to find out how to make this hover behavior. And this hover behavior is also kind of difficult because when you click on an Arborland, say, here, I'm trying to chase these folks down, there's a collider on the sprite that detects the collision between basically the mouse pointer and the object. And these lines between the nodes, they're not regular sprites. They're not. I'm not sure if they're sprites at all. They're kind of an effect. They're called line renderers, and they're actual three-dimensional objects, I think. And they don't have, you can't just put a collider on them like you do here. Like in Unity, I just go into Unity and I create a box collider around this, and I just drag it, drop it, and it's there. These lines are not the same. They are generated programmatically, so the size of the collider has to change the size of the line. And it was just really hard to get that right. There were people doing it, and the way I was setting up my object wasn't working correctly. Long story short, there is you have to have your both the collider and the line in the same object so that they're not completely separate from each other and unaware of each other. That's what I was doing. I was creating the line, and then the collider would show up somewhere way off on the screen, and because it's invisible, I couldn't see how to do it. So I'll put a link in my description for the video that I used to fix that. And yeah, that was. I'm really tired. I'm really tired this week from everything I've done. And the funny thing is, you don't even have that much to show when you work all on code. So yeah, that was it. I'm gonna close it up now. I know I kind of went on and I was rambling, but I felt like doing it. I felt like rambling. Maybe I'll do something more graphical next week, but I have a feeling that I'm still on a unit test kick. I need to create a lot more unit tests for everything, so like everything's covered when I create new objects and new features that they don't break. So I'm probably gonna keep on doing the unit tests, and maybe I'll mix it in with a little bit of graphics, so I have at least something more presentable to show. So thanks for listening and watching, and I'll talk to you again next week. See ya.